All right, Matt, as we look at the college football landscape, it is always evolving and changing, and rosters are as well, too. This is a direct quote from Kyle Whittingham, and actually, it was in his opening statement, just about how different this Utah roster is. There's lots of turnover, 30 new faces, and when you look at the 12 to 15, we might add again, talking about the spring portal, and maybe even some other guys who still got to come to campus, we'll be at a 50% roster makeover. And he said the senior class definitely played a large role in that with how many COVID guys you had that left.
Yeah.
But it is still crazy. You can be at 50% roster turnover in today's era. And I think while some people might be scared when they hear that and go, wow, can we really win with that much turnover? The answer to that is absolutely yes. And all you have to do is look around college football. Indiana, Arizona State, Colorado are just a few examples of teams that completely reshaped their roster and very quickly won games right away, Matt.
Yeah, it definitely can work. And I think especially with the types of guys that they're bringing in, I think that's why Kyle Whittingham felt like it was a net positive overall. And the turnover is kind of at the right spots, turning over that running back room, which outside of Mekhi Bernard, I mean, Bernard started out well, but really wore down as the season went on. And then there just wasn't much to lean on. And so love seeing that turnover. You're not turning over at the offensive line. That's huge when you have 5 starters coming back. That continuity is very important. And so I think that they're turning over at the right spots, and I think they're gonna be all right.
Like you said, they're turning it over at the right spots. The haters are going to find whatever angle they want to hate on Utah and hate on whatever team they cheer for in general. With Utah's offense, if they brought everyone back, it'd be like, oh my gosh, why are you bringing this offense back?
Yeah.
You didn't produce right. Now it's players are leaving and everyone's like, what's going on? And I'm not saying I haven't done videos too saying like, hey, what's going on with Utah? But the truth is, in today's college football, when things go bad, you have the power to change them quickly. And that is exactly what Utah decided to do. Not just hired a new offensive coordinator. And it's like, okay, this is what you have to work with. Like, you don't just have to fix the car with what's in the garage. Like, you can go outside of the store and grab this new piece and grab this new piece and assemble something new and even better. And I love that Utah's been aggressive. They've gotten a Devin Dampier. They've completely revamped the quarterback room, completely revamped the running back room, brought in several receivers who I think are going to be productive too. They're returning some good things. You already mentioned the offensive line. Several key pieces on defense are back. This was a bad offense last year. And the fact that they've swapped out a lot of those pieces for what, in my opinion, on paper, look like upgrades leaves me very optimistic and excited about 2025.
Well, especially when you look back at how Utah was competitive in every game last season except for against Colorado.
And even that was
they were right there.
When Wilson throws the interception on the sideline.
Yeah, that one started to fall apart there late. Yeah. And that was with one of the worst offenses in Utah history. And so now you bring in all these new key players. The defense actually held a lot of players, especially when you get guys like Levani Damuni. It was good to see that was made very clear that he's back on the roster and planning to play. So you get that guy with all that experience back at the linebacker position. And the way that they're able to move guys around in the secondary based on who steps up, and hearing about Rabbit Evans, that was one thing in the press conference that really impressed me, where they were saying that Scally pointed him out specifically and said that's a guy that's going to have a big year.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Rabbit. I already talked about Vakalaki as my breakout guy.
Yeah.
Rabbit would be right up there. Another guy, I think he's going to ball. I think that rotation of safeties, when you have Nate Ritchie, Teo Johnson, and Rabbit Evans, the fact that you can have 2 of those 3 on the field at all times, I think that's really exciting for Utah. Yeah. And another guy I'm really excited about, and he had his ups and downs last year, but man, the flashes are still there. He was by far the best part, probably looking back on it, on Utah's bowl performance against Northwestern a couple years ago. Talk about Jonathan Hall. And when he was in that game, he was balling out. It was not the smoothest transition to linebacker, but he had moments. And whose opinion am I going to trust on Jonathan Hall more, mine or Morgan Scally? I'll take Morgan Scally. And what did Morgan Scally say? He feels Hall's going to be a star. And I'm inclined to believe him. There are some guys on this Utah defense that it's hard not to be fired up about. And once again, like when Utah has plugged in the pieces, I'm not guaranteeing they're going to be better. This is college football. Anything can happen. But I think to not be optimistic about the changes, I don't see the reason not to.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Teo Johnson, John O'Hall, who you brought up. These guys, it was their first year in those new positions. And so, of course, they're going to have a few slip-ups, I couldn't believe how much fans, especially on Johnson, were just like, oh, he's just not doing well enough back there at the free safety spot. It's like, yeah, he's learning it, but he was in on a lot of plays. And now you get him in a second year. You look at second year guys at a position with Morgan Scalley, they take the leap.
They do. I think Teo's fantastic in coverage. I think Teo's problem is he struggled to tackle. That feels to me like an easy fix over the course of an off season. Like just
and you get a guy that was used to being a corner. You don't tackle as much. You
Well, he
don't.
wasn't even a corner. He came in as a receiver too.
Oh, that's right. Started. So this is his third position that he had gone. That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, he went from receiver to corner. Tackling will take some time, and safeties have to tackle a lot more than corners. And he's going to get that figured out. That's something that Utah's very good at teaching.
Yeah, they do a great job, and he's got great coaches on that side of the ball. I mean, Morgan Scalley working with him, Sharif Shaw back there too, just in the defensive backfield in general. Like, I feel incredibly confident about the guys that are helping him along in his development. And one other thing
for you, real quick: if Smith Snowden moves to the outside, who do you think fills in his nickel spot?
I was thinking about this too. I don't know if Kenan Johnson is a nickel, and this is where it just becomes interesting. But if it's like, who are Utah's three best corners right now? I would go fully healthy Kenan Johnson. I'd go Elijah Davis or Scooby Davis, and then I go Smith Snowden. So it's to me, then it's like just put him out on the field and have him go out there and ball. I don't know if any of those guys are true. That's where maybe Snowden maybe is the best overall corner, but like his size could maybe get him in trouble too. So that's where maybe I would keep him at nickel, but either way, and that's not even factoring in the transfers. Like one of these transfers is going to be impactful. I'm not saying they're all going to start, but like one of them is going to push for playing time. And I do feel optimistic. How do you see it shaking out right now?
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought, would they try to put Nate Ritchie there? Would they try to? Yeah, I don't know. And maybe that just speaks more to Kenan Johnson's being healthy. Like, how healthy is he really? And if they're having to move Snowden out there, I wonder how much he's healed up, or if they're not sure he will. But anyway, just wondering what you thought, because that's one position that I've just thought I don't know for sure. I don't know what they'll do there, but it could be one of the new guys.
They brought three veterans. One from UC Davis who started a lot, another from Texas A&M. Yeah. Didn't play a ton, if I remember correctly, but has a lot of potential.
The fact that he was in that program, yeah,
and a community college guy who's gotten after it the past couple of years too. So I'm excited to see which of those three guys is going to earn the opportunity to, at worst, be the fourth corner, and at best, maybe even be the third guy too.
Yeah, certainly something to keep an eye on later on in the spring.
Yeah. One other thing Witt said that I thought was interesting was he did say, like, hey, they're excited for the spring because spring is going to allow us to see which spots we need to go back in the portal and add. That's the luxury that spring ball does provide. Not only are you just giving guys the early reps, the Devin Dampier helping them get comfortable with what Jason Beck wants to do at Utah, because even though it's familiar with New Mexico, it's going to be a little different. So you get that in there. You get the reps for the guys who are there, but you can also see like, oh, we didn't go out and get that wide receiver one, maybe. Oh, we do need one more defensive tackle. That's where I think it's really, I love that Utah's looking at it from that way and not being like, hey, this Dabo of the past, right? Dabo Swinney's been criticized for not using the portal. He did it more this year, and he's gone to the portal for quite the defensive coordinator hire. My goodness, shelling out some cash there.
Yeah.
But I do think it's really smart that Utah's not like, nope, we're still evolving, we're still growing, because that's what the best programs are still doing, is always looking at ways to get better.
Well, and they're so smart to leave so many scholarships open, and they're counting on that. And they're saying, okay, we feel pretty good here. They're not rushing to just give anybody a scholarship. A lot of people were looking at, as soon as they lost Tanavasa, they're just saying, okay, well, who are they going to get now in the portal? And it's like, well, at this point in the portal, you don't want to just go grab anybody. These kind of, last guys, just be patient, and some new guys will come open. If it's even needed, it might be already on the roster. Yeah,
it might be. So that's fun. Who's going to break out? Sometimes you have injuries and unfortunate things happen too, where it's like, okay, we need to go find someone. I think Leavani Damuni was hurt in spring ball last year. And that was where, looking back at it, I'm sure Utah probably wishes they picked up an extra veteran linebacker in that spot. So something to continue to monitor with Utah's roster for sure.